All right, everyone, I am live. I'm just making sure that I can go live on Instagram before I start. This video is about an Ottawa police officer who is in court against the government of Canada and a bunch of other things. There we go. I'm also live on Instagram, so we can start. This is a very important watch. I watched it this morning myself, and I actually had like an emotional reaction to it because it has to do with children dying. It has to do with babies passing away, potentially due to the vaccination status of their parents. So I'm just going to put this video on. I want you guys all to watch it with me. I'm going to have comments on here in banner as we watch it. Let's go ahead. Boom. Okay. Very important video for everybody to watch. I'm doing it this way just so it hopefully...
Ottawa Police Detective Helen Gruss urgently needs our support. She's been charged with discreditable conduct and is on the brink of losing everything for simply doing her job, investigating 9 unexplained infant deaths potentially linked to their mother's vaccination status. Among the evidence she uncovered and presented to her superiors was a Pfizer report revealing that 31 out of 32 pregnancies ended in spontaneous abortion. Early in her investigation, in December 2021 and January 2022, Detective Gruss warned Chief Peter Slowly and Deputy Chief Patricia Ferguson that the Pfizer vaccine had never been tested on pregnant women, and that her squad had noted an alarming rise in unexplained infant deaths. As her investigation gained momentum, connecting disturbing dots, the Ottawa police quickly suspended Detective Gruss for conducting a purported unauthorized investigation, despite the fact that Gruss had briefed the Chief of Police, Deputy Chief, and Service Sergeant Major Daniluk. But a suspension alone wasn't enough. Those pulling the strings needed to send a chilling message, not just to Helen Gruss, but to over 70,000 police officers across Canada. That message? Investigating potential links between the COVID vaccines and a growing number of injuries and deaths would not be tolerated. There was one obstacle, though. Helen's investigation was confidential, so a full-scale public defamation campaign couldn't happen without breaching that confidentiality. And then, predictably, it happened. In March 2022, 2 Ottawa police officers betrayed their duty, illegally leaking confidential information about Detective Gruss's investigation and the grieving families of the infants to CBC journalist Shamini Yogaretnam. CBC published 2 articles that defamed Detective Gruss, calling her actions rogue. The articles also falsely claimed that Gruss had improperly obtained coroner's records for the deceased infants. Ottawa Police Professional Standards, in an effort to cover their tracks, refused Detective Gruss's demands that they launch a criminal investigation to identify the 2 involved officers. But why would they do their job, right?
Whoever leaked that information to Shamini, who made that ultimatum for the police to then call the parents and to re-traumatize them, and probably to encourage them to make a public complaint against Detective Gruss, those are the police officers that committed a privacy breach.
It's particularly notable that during Detective Gruss's investigation into the 9 infant deaths, it emerged that her colleague, Detective Tara Anderson, had failed to document the vaccine status of the parents and infants, something that had been standard requirement for decades. This glaring oversight placed Anderson in an unfavorable light. Instead of addressing her own failings, Anderson lodged a complaint against Gruss with professional standards. Even more striking, evidence later revealed that Anderson's written complaint included the phrase, "The death of a child is the worst experience a parent will ever go through." Why is that phrase interesting? Because in Shamini Yogaretnam's CBC articles, it had reported that one of her anonymous police sources who illegally leaked the investigation had used this exact same phrase. Detective Aaron McMullen, another officer who filed complaints against Gruss, was recently promoted to sergeant despite a troubling history, including neglect in a domestic violence case that tragically ended in the murder of Hannity Mohammed. A promotion based on merit? Hardly. One might wonder if this was a reward for her role in testifying against Detective Gruss. But all this aside, the calculated actions of the Ottawa Police, rogue officers, and state-funded CBC achieved their intended goal. Since Detective Gruss was suspended and not charged, not a single Canadian police officer has dared to investigate the overwhelming evidence suggesting that those responsible for manufacturing, purchasing, and mandating the vaccines were well aware they were neither safe nor effective. Following Detective Gruss's suspension in February of 2022 and desperate for ammunition, the Ottawa Police illegally wiretapped Gruss and her family, hoping to find incriminating evidence. After 2 days of surveillance, misusing the urgent emergency terrorism wiretap provisions, they found nothing. Detective Gruss's tribunal has been steeped in bias and corruption. Prosecutor Vanessa Stewart, whose sister-in-law testified against Detective Gruss, repeatedly interrupted and objected to defense questioning often before the questions were even fully asked. Stewart has since been replaced by Ottawa law firm Perley Robertson, led by Linda Bordelot, who, by the way, is married to former Ottawa Police Chief Charles Bordelot. Interesting to note, Linda Bordelot was involved in a 2016 conflict of interest scandal that exposed nepotism among top police families in the Ottawa area, including the Bordelot, Callahan, and Thompson families. Deals were made, witnesses were absent, and charges were dropped against a family member and former chief of police. As the saying goes, it's a club, and Detective Helen Gruss is not in it. Meanwhile, adjudicator Chris Renwick, presiding over Gruss's tribunal, actively undermines her defense at every turn, denying all 5 expert witnesses, ruling that defense questions be submitted in advance and even at times forbidding Gruss from reviewing her own handwritten notes. Professional standards inspector Hugh O'Toole also crossed ethical lines, threatening Gruss that she should not present certain evidence in her defense, including internal Ottawa police documents, a clear case of criminal witness tampering and obstruction of justice, according to Gruss's outraged defense lawyers. Within weeks of these allegations surfacing, O'Toole quietly resigned. According to internal police sources, he was strongly advised to step down. Now, as Detective Helen Gruss approaches the final leg of her tribunal, her case has become the longest and most costly prosecution in Ottawa police history. Adding to the injustice, her own police union abandoned her, refusing to cover her legal fees, a stark contrast to the same union's swift support for Eric Post, an officer who faced 32 charges, including sexual assault and forcible confinement. Detective Gruss's case has ignited serious questions about transparency, accountability, and the duties of police officers to conduct investigations without political interference or fear of retaliation. The outcome of her case will no doubt set a precedent, shaping how politically sensitive investigations are handled in the future. In speaking of the Ottawa police cover-up of the Gruss investigation, retired New York police detective and Medal of Honor recipient Frank Serpico said, "Incompetence or criminality will go to any length not to be exposed, even at the cost of innocent infant lives. When courageous officers like Helen Gruss are targeted and punished for pursuing the truth, it falls on us to stand with them. Public awareness is the most powerful weapon we have against injustice, which is why this video is necessary."
The question is this: what is your price? Is it 10 million? Is it 20 million? Is it 100 million? What is your price? Because if your price is not your life, then you are for sale. If your price is not your life, then you are for sale.
Ottawa Police Detective Helen Gruss urged
Okay, I'm muted. That's good because I was almost crying anyway. So this is from Dave Freedom's page on Facebook. So you can look him up, DAVE Freedom on Facebook. He's got that video up there. People have tried to share it and it gets taken down immediately. So I thought that I would make a watch party in order to hopefully have that video not be taken down. I can still hear. Okay, perfect. I had no sound and now I do have sound. Good. So reading from Dave Freedom's page, I'm going to say what he says. Urgent public awareness. Share. Canada needs to know the name Detective Helen Gruss. Helen, I have a tough time thinking about this. Helen heads into the final leg of her tribunal January 8th, 2025 for submissions. This is ridiculous. Tribunals should be from people who are committing crimes against humanity, not for people who are trying to save people and learn about the truth behind the corruption, behind the payments. Like the video said, people were getting paid. It didn't say that specifically, but I know people were getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, and that is the price for their life. That is the price for their soul. That is the price they decided to sell themselves for and live happily ever after in this lifetime. But I'll tell you what, it's not going to be so good for them in eternity. And these people have sold their souls to the devil in order to not allow the truth to come out about children dying, about babies dying, about people all over the world dying. Anyways, moving on. Detective Gruss is accused of investigating 9 unexplained infant deaths for possible links to the CVAX. I'm going to try to avoid buzzwords that's going to get this video taken down because I really don't want it to be taken down. Anyways, what followed was a chilling case of corruption, nepotism, and political interference. The system used the prosecution of Detective Gruss to send a message to 70,000 police officers across Canada. Don't question the vax narrative or face personal destruction of you and your family. With the trial resuming on January 8th, 2025, which is tomorrow, the stakes couldn't be higher. Hearing Officer Chris Renwick's verdict will define not only Gruss' future, but his own legacy. Will justice prevail? Watch now and see why this trial matters in the battle for truth, accountability, and the future of policing in Canada. Thank you to the Shadoe Davis Show for providing the voiceover in this video. So this video, it's already gotten 11.6 thousand views on Facebook. There's many different people commenting saying that they have tried to share it and it gets banned. One thing that I had said, that is right, Patty, 100% hush money, and they sold their soul. There's a lot of hush money going on in Canada. I can't say some of the ones that I have heard about and know about publicly, but I could have private conversations with people about that sort of stuff. Anyways, somebody says the police organization is corrupt. It needs to be taken apart. Defund the corrupt police and rebuild with honor, Jonathan Smith says. I responded to him, and this is something that I continually say over and over and over and over again in comments. So I finally want to say it here on video. I only have a couple more minutes until I have to go to work. So this is going to be very, very quick and be over with very soon here. But what I say in response to people who say the system is corrupt, it needs to be broken down, is please note, you cannot take something apart unless first building its replacement. That is our entire problem. Who is ready, willing, and able to begin the difficult and thankless work and expensive work of building the structures that would replace these systems? We obviously have to replace the justice system. We obviously have to replace the enforcement system. We obviously have to replace the education system and the health system, et cetera, and so on. All of these systems, but we have to replace them with something else. We can't just tear them down and say, they're gone now. You have to replace it with something else. That's why I work so hard on my health, is because I'm replacing the health system for my own family. And I hope that you guys are doing it for yourself too, after witnessing the horrors of what our sick care health system is doing to people. And so that's what I'm doing in my own life. I'm also working on the justice system in my own personal life and things. I'm learning everything that I can about the justice system and all that sort of stuff. There's so much going on, but we have to replace those things in order to take down the ones that are currently running and are corrupt. And you have to be 100% dedicated in order to do that. So I continue on with this comment. I say, where is the money to come to carry this out? We have to then, it's like a church, tithing, Jesus, the LDS church does a great job of this. Everybody tithes 10%. Listen, it's like you might be more well off, you might be less well off, but everybody puts a little tiny bit in. If you are not willing to put a tiny bit in to replace all of these systems, then you really don't care about the corruption. You're just typing stuff on Facebook, you're just making comments. Like, it's time to start organizing ourselves. And then on top of this, I say, how will we know the people who are building this are more trustworthy than those who built what was already in place? What provisions for checks and balances will there be, and how will this become enforced? That's the most major problem across Canada, is enforcement. You can send letters, you can do common law, God's law practices. You can show up in court, but where is the enforcement? If you're going to hold a judge who is corrupt, a police force who is corrupt, who is doing obvious crimes against humanity, crimes against people, obvious injustices, how are you going to get the enforcement? Where are our enforcers? I say, I want it done too, but these all must be answered and carried out first. This is a big, big, big problem across the world, is that the people at the tops of all the systems that are over everybody are corrupt. They're bought out. They have all the money. They live lavish lifestyles, and so they don't think about their conscience, they don't think about their soul, they don't think about the spiritual repercussions of what's going on. And I think about that all day, every single day. The thing is how do you ensure that that's not going to happen moving on? Let's see. There's no justice without change. That is true. I'll be in legislation speaking. You are always, and thank you, my dear, so much, Patty, for all that you do behind the scenes. People have no idea. Making an example of the previous transgressors is a good start. Yeah, how do you make examples? Like, what does that look like? What is that? I have to go to work right away, so I'm leaving this. Magna Carta, they aren't above the law. Yes, who enforces that, though, is always my continual question. Anyways, I just wanted to jump on here today. Watch that video with you guys, share it with you guys so you can see what's going on here in Canadian law tomorrow in court. And you can go and support Dave Freedom's page, putting that out. And the Shadow Davis show, obviously working with him on that. And that was a very well done clip. I couldn't have done it better myself. I'm so busy as a single mom these days. I would love to be making those videos, but I really don't have time. So the best that I can do is hop on here and watch them with you guys. And hopefully people will figure it out and stop putting their minds, efforts, and energies into useless things like sports and entertainment and nonsense, and start putting some effort into actually building up our communities from the inside out and investing into our communities. Like, we have to start building these systems, and we have to start building trust within our communities in order to be able to be trustworthy to be invested into to build these systems. It's a lot, you guys. There's a lot of problems, and I don't have all the minutes right now to start discussing them, but I just wanted to jump on here quickly and watch that with you guys, and I'm out of here for work. So God bless you guys. Miigwech to all of my friends and fam out there as well. I love you guys too, and stay free. All right. Catch y'all later.